Hello, welcome to IY the Physicist. Today we are going to continue with our class. In our last class we talked about the branches of physics. And now we're going to talk about the fundamental and derived quantities and unit. Fundamental and derived quantities and unit. But before that, make sure that you subscribe, like and comment. Fundamental quantities. What are fundamental quantities? When we say fundamental quantities, they are those quantities that are not derived from any other quantities. In other words, fundamental quantities are the independent quantities and cannot express in terms of other quantities. For example, such quantities are, we have length, mass, temperature, time, amount of substance, and luminous intensity. These are what we call the fundamental quantities. We say its length. It has its what? SI unit. When we say SI unit, that is International System Unit. The unit that is recognized worldwide. On length is what? Is meter. So I can measure length, meter here, go to wherever you can go in the world, you still measure it in what? In meter. It is the acceptable unit. And it has its symbol, a symbol that you can what? Recognize it as a small m, which is meter. We have mass, which has the SI unit kilogram. It's measured in what? In kilogram. And it has the symbol kg. And then time, which is measured in seconds, which has the symbol of small s. And electric currents, which has the what? It is measured in ampere, and it has a symbol of A. And then temperature is measured in Kelvin, and it has the symbol of K. And then amount of substance, which is measured in mole and has the symbol of mole. And then luminous intensity, which is measured in candela and has the symbol of CD. So these are what we call the fundamental quantities. Those quantities that any other quantities depend on it, and it is independent of any other quantities. Then we say fundamental units. When we say fundamental unit, they are those units that are what? Independent of any other units. They are the unit of a fundamental quantities. We say they are those independent units that forms the basis of the SI system. SI unit system. Then we say derived quantities. Derived quantities. Derived quantities are those from the weight derived. You can understand that they are what? Derived. They are extracts or forms from other quantities. When we say derived quantities are those quantities obtained by combining two or more fundamental quantities using mathematical relation. For example, area is a derived quantity. I can obtain my area by saying length multiplied by breadth of an object. So I have my area to be what? Length times breadth. And volume, another example, to be what? Length times breadth times height. Right? So you see, it's a combination of what? Fundamental quantity, and fundamental quantity. Another example, you can say force, which is what? Mass times what? Acceleration. So it can be a combination of fundamental quantities or combination of another quantity with another quantity by either multiplication, dividing, by either multiplying or dividing or even adding. So this is what we call a derived quantities. And what about the derived unit? Derived units are those units formed by combining fundamental units, as I said. So now here the area we set as an example. We can say, okay, what is the unit of area? So we are going to use the unit of this fundamental quantity and the unit of this fundamental quantity, which this length is measured in what? In meter, right? We have meter multiplied by another meter, which is we have what? M square as the unit of area. Likewise, the volume, we have the fundamental quantity here, which is length. We have M as its what? Units. And another fundamental quantity here, which is M as its unit. And another fundamental quantity here, which is what? M as its unit. So I will what? Multiply the 3M, which is M to power of 3, or M cube, as the what? The unit of volume. And likewise the what? The force. Okay, I'll go. What is my mass? What is the fundamental unit of mass? Is what? Kilogram. So I have my kilogram, and then what is my acceleration? Acceleration is change in velocity all over time. All right, velocity all over time. Right. So I will use the unit of my velocity all over time, which is meter per second square, meter per second, right, square. So I'm having kilogram per meter per second square. Kilogram meter per second square. Kilogram meter per second square as the unit of my force, or I will call it Newton. So this is what, in a simple shape, what, or in simple explanation, what fundamental quantities are, which are those quantities that are not derived from any other quantities, and then the units, it is those units that are not derived from any other unit. They are the independent quantities, and the derived quantities are those quantities that are obtained by simply combining two or more fundamental quantities, or two or more quantities, by either multiplication, division, or addition. So this is this. I do hope you understand the class. See you in the next class. Thank you.